Hey everyone, it's 10 Types, and today I'm going to be going over all the new Destined Rivals decks and talking about how good I actually think they're going to be. Well, and I said all of them. There were a few that I'm not going to cover because they're just not played very much so far in Japan, and so I might cover them later. Notably, the Team Rocket's Arbok deck. I think that's actually really underrated and very good, but I've talked about that some before already, and I'm certainly going to talk about that again. But today we're going to be talking about the ones that have been played a decent amount in Japan and have been talked about a lot as well. We're starting off today with the Marnes deck, which is out now on live, and it is in the regular set, but it's also getting a separate deck. Anyways, it's a card that's pretty solid. It has let me click on it. Okay, there we go. It has 320 HP. It does 180 for 2 darkness and 30 snipe, and then its ability also says that you search your deck for up to 5 basic darkness energies and attach them to your Marnes Pokemon in any way you want. Then you shuffle your deck. And there are two different Marnes decks we're going to take a look at. We're going to take a look at the one with Frostlass, which is being played a lot on live. I see it like every other game because it's out and it's one of the two new decks out. And then also the one with, I guess, the intended way. This one has some interesting things as well in it, but it plays the Marnes Pico notably. But the deck, obviously, it has like solid stats. It's not an insane stats Pokemon, and this is predicting the decks now, but also going into the future some as well. Obviously, predicting, 2 years into the future is kind of hard to do because it's like we don't know any of the cards then, but it's kind of judging them based on how they are now, but also how they be kind of in a vacuum as well. But the Marnie's Grimmsnarl EX is a very solid attacker. It's not insanely strong. It kind of reminds me of Charizard EX though, which is good. Not like broken, but still very good. It's less versatile than Charizard EX and does less damage in the later game. The snipe is nice. Notably in live, there isn't Shaman, which is in this set. So Marnie's Grimmsnarl EX can do the 30 snipe for free. Like, it can always do that as opposed to that being stopped sometimes. I don't think that matters that much personally, but it does matter some, and I figured it is worth mentioning. But overall, it's a solid Pokemon. And then you have the Marnie's Morpeko or Marnie's Morpeko. This one does 20, 40 more for each darkness energy attached to this Pokemon. The issue is it doesn't have much HP, so it's not surviving hits unless you do like Survival Brace, which I don't think is good. And then also it's a Pokemon that like its damage doesn't scale that well. You need a ton of energy on to do okay damage, and that's awkward to do. Yes, you have the Mario's Grimmsnarl EX, which accelerates 5 energy, which is a lot, but that's still a big commitment. And it's kind of awkward. It requires you to play Energy Recycler, which is like, I mean, that's all right, but it's kind of awkward. And maybe commit more to Super Rod to get energy back, and it just causes awkward plays with that. Then your Marnie's Grimmsnarl EX might not be powered up, or you're just not really focusing on the Marnie's Morpeko. So overall, I think the deck is solid. We also see other darkness stuff. We of course see Monkey Dory, which has a good synergy with Grimmsnarl. It's some of the best synergy we've seen from Monkey Dory because it's darkness energy. We see Monkey Dory put into lots of different things in standard. Notably, we see it in Gardevoir where it's a bit better than, or it's noticeably better in Gardevoir than it really is in any other deck. Also, Enzoric EX is a darkness deck, though that does have some bench space issues. And then there is Roaring Moon EX, but it's not as good there. And then you also have random decks, right? You can put it in what's a deck that is like a different type that I can find? And Dragapult. I'll just say Dragapult. That's like a main example. Oh, our Caledon as well. People put it in random things, and it's like kind of mediocre in them. But it is pretty good here because you can get the energy on relatively easily, assuming you're not really committing to the Morpeko, because that is going to eat up attachments to an extent. Though you could accelerate like 2 here, then 3 here, and then attach 1 here. I think you can see that. If not, then that's unfortunate. But yeah, you can accelerate in that way and like get the energy kind of like going all right. But again, your Marnes Pico won't be super strong. It's a single pricing attacker that's like okay at that point. But I mean that's acceptable as well. But I think the other build is definitely better with Frostlass. Frostlass, you get lots of damage counters on the board, and you use Monkey Dory to move them around. If your opponent is playing a lot of Pokemon with abilities, you can kind of just pick them apart slowly. And then the Marnes Grimmsnarl EX is a solid attacker. Again, it's not super tanky. You do have Monkey Dory, but you are going to take Frostlass damage and guarantee going to take some Frostlass damage. So that is something you need to consider. And understand that you're not as tanky as maybe you'd like to be, but it's still like pretty good. Your damage is still good, and the spread is a nice little option, or the 30 snipe. Of course, with the Frostlass and the Monkey Dories, you can do a lot of damage. You're not necessarily swinging for one shots. I played this deck some, and it doesn't get off the ground super consistently, but it is still pretty good. And I don't think it's a true top tier deck. I think I'm going to kind of put them in like a theoretical tier list because we have like the top 10 right now, where you have like a deck or two at the very top. You have then like a tier below that, with stuff like Terrabox, for example, that's like still very strong. Maybe like five decks in that tier, and then you have at the tail end the top 10, and like kind of leaking below that you have decks that are like more mediocre. Something like, I'm trying to think of one that people kind of agree is mediocre. Um, and I can't think of any that everyone just agrees is in that tier. But I'd say something like Flareon, I don't think is super strong, but not like bad, or something like Feraligatr, or something like Roaring Mooniax, or um, Terapagos EX. Maybe I don't really know. Anyways, you have decks like that, and I think it'll be at that like fringe, like middle tier, like above those decks I just named, but like probably below Terrabox. I don't know, somewhere in there. I don't think it's going to be a truly insane deck, but I think it's going to be an all right deck. Throughout its time in standard, I think it just has like solid pieces. It works pretty well with Monkey Dory, as I said, and Monkey Dory works well with Frostlass, and well, it is going to lose some HP to Frostlass. It's not like the end of the world, especially with the Monkey Dories, but it's not awesome, but it's okay. And overall, yeah, I think the deck's solid. It doesn't play an engine. I think not playing an engine in my games with it, it felt really sketchy. So I will mention that. But that this isn't about tweaking the list. This is about the deck as a whole, and I think it's pretty solid. Though I don't think it's like really like top tier. I think I'd be surprised if it's in the top five, is what I'll say. At the end of the day, like I expect it. I think it'll probably be top five when like the set drops, but we'll see where it's like, in like a couple of months from now. Then we have the next set of decks. These are the Ethan's decks. These are really interesting. There's three different ones. There's Ethan's Ho-EX with Med Cargo. There's Ethan's Typhlosion, and then there is Ethan, or whatever this thing is, the Arm Rouge Ethan's box deck. So first of all, Ethan's Ho-EX accelerates two fire energy from your hand to one of your benched Ethan's Pokemon, once each turn, and then you have an attack that's like kind of bad. And then you have Ethan's My Cargo. This does 7. You discard up to 5 energy from this Pokemon, fire energy, into 70 for each energy discarded in this, or sorry, each card discarded in this way. It also has for your treat if it doesn't have energy. Then you have this Ethan's Pinsir as a like comeback attacker. Then we have the Ethan's Adventure. This searches for 3 in any combination of Ethan's Pokemon and basic fire energy from your deck into your hand, which is like pretty good, I guess. It's not insane though, but the Ethan's Ho-EX is interesting, getting damage onto or energy onto the board to do big damage with Ethan's My Cargo. We also see this card, the Rocket's Watchtower. This is like a disruptive card, but I figured I'd mention it because it's not out yet, but it's here. And then the main idea, of course, is to just do big damage with Ethan's My Cargo. It's not like it's strong, but it's kind of awkward to set up. Generally, big commitment single prizes are not awesome, but I think this deck is okay. I don't think it's like I'd say it's probably going to not be one that people are going to play that much as time goes on. I think it will ultimately be deserving of somewhere around like deck 15 through 20, which is okay, though certainly not super impressive. Kind of similar to, honestly, the Marnes deck with Morpeko. I think that one's a little better, though. I think you just kind of ignore the Morpeko a lot of the time, and the Marnes deck is like okay. This one doesn't have that much to fall back on when things kind of don't go your way. You need a lot of energy, and that's kind of hard to do, and you need like a good amount of moving pieces. It's not absolutely insane, but decks like this tend to not quite work out. I'm not a believer in this deck. I know some people think it's going to be very strong. I don't know if that many people do, but I know some people do, but I think it's just okay. Then we have the Ethan's Typhlosion deck. This one has been. Oh, also this deck's been doing like kind of not super amazingly in Japan. It's been doing like okay, I guess. But then the Ethan's Typhlosion deck. This one, Ethan's Typhlosion here, or Ethan's Kulava first searches for an Ethan's Adventure, putting it into your hand. And Ethan's Typhlosion for 1 fire does 40, 60 more for each Ethan's Adventure in your discard pile. This card slash deck has been seeing a bunch of play. It's been seeing play with some different combinations as well. Not going to be covering really combination decks of like a new card and an old card really. But anyways, you have that going on. We also see the Victini to boost damage, which is kind of fun, and the Shaman with Bench Bear, and the Psyduck with this ability that counters Dustmon, which I don't know what's coming out. But anyways, figured I'd mention that. But overall, you're just trying to do big damage with Ethan's Typhlosion, which is like pretty good. I don't think it's quite good enough though. I'm not gonna lie. It's a stage two, and we've seen a card very similar to this in Delphox, which was because Ethan's Adventure isn't like super good. It kind of gets you set up, but it's not a super strong supporter. We saw Serena with Delphox and Breaks, and that was okay. It was definitely not bad. I actually am gonna check on that. Um, Delphox from Silver Tempest was not really played, I'm pretty sure, but the Breaks in the stage one, which is similar, was played in Zoroark box. It was like a main feature in that. Oh yeah, and these weren't City League legal, so um, it's similar. And that deck wasn't super strong, and Serena's probably better than Ethan's Adventure, and so I feel like this deck just seems not quite good enough. You can be doing how much are you doing? You can do like 300, I think. You can one shot. You can take one shots with this stack. You need to kind of like stretch yourself to do that, though. I think it does play a redeemable ticket to get Ethan's Adventure out of the prizes, but that's like a little awkward. Though I think it's pretty doable to get him in the discard. Overall, though, it's not very versatile like at all, which isn't necessarily a big issue. It's better to be versatile, but lots of decks aren't. But then also it's like strong, but it does require some kind of awkward setup, and it is a stage two single so generally these aren't super good. I don't think this deck's gonna be terrible. I think it will end up in maybe around deck 15 if I had to guess. I think it'll be all right, not amazing, but I think it will be okay. I personally think it actually doesn't like isn't quite as good as deck 15, but I think it will end up being there. When when all's said and done in like a month or two. Then we have the final deck that I'm most excited for. This is the Ethan's Ho-Oh EX with Armarouge deck. So you have Armarouge to move fire energy from your bench Pokemon to your active, and you have Ethan's Ho-Oh EX. This one, again, accelerates essentially to itself. It accelerates two fires from your hand to yourself in this deck. That's what you're going to be doing. We see a bunch of different attackers as well. It's a toolbox deck, kind of like Terra Box, except that they don't all have to be Terras. But then it's fire focused with one other energy type. We have Legacy Energy and we have Luminous Energy, and so instead of one other energy type, one energy of another type. You can't use multiple of a different type. Like Iron Hand GX can't ever attack with Arm Press in this stack. I will mention Prism Energy. I will talk about a handful of cards that are coming out later here. I guess I don't remember a lot of them off the top of my head, but I know Prism Energy is coming out, which is better than Luminous here. I'm pretty sure it can't be used on. Oh no, yeah, it's definitely better than Luminous here. And then that can allow you to do some different things, though it's not like gonna make the deck that much better. But I will mention that. And then you have a bunch of solid attacking options. You have Trap Ghost as like a safe attacker. I'm not really gonna go over all of them, but you have some different ones for different times. I think it's a pretty solid box deck, honestly. Comparing it to Terra Box, it's easier to I think a little bit easier to get the energy like flowing around, which is good. But also you don't have an engine, which is bad. A lot of these decks don't really have engines. Oh, also this one plays the Dunsparce. I didn't really say that. I think the Dunsparce is kind of weak. I mean, it is, right? You don't draw that many cards throughout the course of the game. It's okay. And then you send it back into the deck, which allows you to draw it again, but comparing it to End Zoroark EX, you'll be seeing a lot more with that throughout the course of the game, and that's not like a true top tier engine, or at least top tier card. But anyways, no engine at all is kind of sketchy. So I think it is going to be a bit of a worse Terra box, unfortunately. Kind of like we see with something like, say, Flareon Standard, which is, in my opinion, definitely in that role, or also Joltik Box. This actually reminds me most of Joltik Box, where you have some different attacking options. You have the Liz Clefairy EX, and you are playing a wide variety of basic energies instead of Luminous Energy, and you're accelerating much like Grass and Lightning, so it's a little bit different, but it actually reminds me most of Joltik Box. Again, you're not relying on a big attack in the early game. You're using your ability, and you can, I think, bounce back better. I do think it is better than Joltik Box. I think, but if you know me, I think Joltik Box isn't like really that good. So I think this will also end up being in that 15. Um, range, probably somewhere around where the Ethan's Typhlosion deck is. Again, I'm higher on this deck than most people, and I'm lower on this deck than most people. But I still think it is, again, it's a pretty solid deck. I do like it a lot as well. I think it's really fun and has potential to do some interesting things. But we'll see if it ends up really like reaching its potential. Then we have the Rockets deck. This one is arguably the most interesting one to talk about. I'm not going to break down everything in this deck. I've broken it down a bunch. And also there's like a lot to break down here, and I'm not going to go into all the details about like all the trainers and stuff. But long story short, you have Team Rocket's receiver, or yeah, Team Rocket's receiver, which searches for a supporter with Team Rocket in its name and then puts it into your hand. And you have a bunch of different ones that like do some different things. So you got one that's like boss, and you have some draw ones and some disruption ones. This one plays Iono. I've seen some without any Rocket supporters. I think it's fine either way, but it's searchable and it's really good. And then you have the Team Rocket's Mewtwo EX, which does 160, but you can discard up to 2 energy from your bench Pokemon, does 60 more for each card discarded in this way. Each card discarded in this way, not energy. So if you discard Team Rocket's energy, which is 2 energy, which are psychic slash darkness, then you won't be able to do that. Or you can just do 60 more though, so you probably don't want to do that. Then you have Team Rocket Spite Ops. This one accelerates energy from your discard to it, and it does 30 for or once each turn you can accelerate energy from the discard to it, which you can then discard using the Team Rocket's Mewtwo EX, and you can do Rocket Rush, which does 30 for each of your Team Rocket's Pokemon in play, which is presumably 6 if you're attacking with it. So that's pretty good. It's not insane. Honestly, I think the card I'm most skeptical about is the Team Rocket Spite Ops. Attacking, I don't think it's not like the main attacker, I don't think, but it's not a very strong attacker in my opinion, really at all. It's like mediocre damage. It's a single prizer, so I guess that's better than being a two prizer doing mediocre damage. But its ability is pretty good. But then you attack with different tech options as well with the Team Rocket's Mimikyu, Honchkrow. I actually haven't seen the Honchkrow index before, honestly. Yeah, it looks like this is the only one that is here in Limitless. And then Zapdos, I've actually not seen this card in a deck before either. Not actually 100% sure what this is here for. If anyone actually knows, let me know. Maybe it's here for Badoo? I don't know. And then you have Team Rocket Articuno. This one like protects your Pokemon some, so you got some different things there. But the Team Rocket's Mimikyu is a really strong attack option. There's some other ones as well. Overall, the deck has some really cool pieces. Oh, it has this like stadium that lets you draw cards as well. It just got a bunch of pieces. It's like really two sets that this set is made up of. Two Japanese sets that the international set's made up of. The Rockets one and then the other one. And then there's also the Marnes and Steven stuff, which are separate from that. But the Team Rockets Mewtwo EX is definitely a card that is like solid. Oh, it has an ability. It can't attack unless you have 4 more Team Rocket's Pokemon in play. This isn't like a major issue, specifically in this deck, but it kind of forces you to go down this route. But again, if you are playing this, it should not be an issue when you're actually playing games. Overall, I think the deck is okay. I think it will end up also being in that like 15 deck, like 15 range. It's definitely a deck that it's got like some hype. I guess it's got a bunch of hype. And it's okay. I mean, it's not insane. I think if someone says this deck's going to be like a top 5 deck, I think that's just kind of crazy. I never really heard that much. I've heard some people saying it's flopped, which I don't think it's flopped. I don't think it was ever, it looked okay. I mean, oh, also Team Rocket's V2X has absurd HP. I will mention that. That is meaningful, but its damage is like fine, but it's kind of awkward. It requires a bunch of setup, and also you can't play Pheasantipti EX, which is like bad, and a bunch of other things. So you do need to make sacrifices in other ways, which is a big deal. So it's a solid deck. It's not insane. It has a bunch of nice options. It has so many cards because like every trainers Pokemon in the set, in the half set, is literally a Team Rocket's Pokemon, which is really nice. But they're not all good, right? A lot of them are just pretty mediocre. And the core of the deck, the Mewtwo Spite Ops stuff, is okay. Also, getting the attack off itself is kind of awkward because it is 3 energy. You can get 2 with the attachment, but overall, the deck is like okay. Definitely a little bit, I guess, clunky, but it's like decently strong, and the really high HP is nice. Being weak to darkness, I guess, is also not great with Charizard and also the Marnie's deck. I don't think it's like the end of the world, but it's not ideal. But overall, the deck it's fine. And I guess no, the weakness to darkness actually isn't that bad because you have the Team Rocket Spite Ops to counter those attacks as well. Moving on to the next deck. This is the only non-trainers deck, I'm pretty sure, which is it's actually like two different decks, I guess. It's got Mega EX, which when it switches from the bench to the active, you accelerate 3 grass from your hand to, or from your deck to it, which is pretty cool. And then you can do 210 for 4, and then move 3 from it to one of your bench Pokemon. And then you have Crustle as well here, which is like Mimikyu or something. It has like better stats, but yeah, it's just like Mimikyu. And it's a stage 1. I think Crystal isn't super good. Again, I've always, when I talk about Mimikyu, I say Mimikyu's really good. The cards that are like Mimikyu that are worse than Mimikyu are really bad because you could just play Mimikyu, and I still stand by that. But this is okay. I think Crystal like could be fine. I believe Crystal rotates later than Mimikyu, which is like cool. Yeah, it does. But ultimately, this isn't exactly about rotation, but I do need to mention it here. If I'm going to say it's bad because Mimikyu is better, then it's not always going to have Mimikyu, but the game will change as well. But overall, like Crustal's fine. We've seen cards like it. It's kind of like Aegislash. Aegislash is kind of not very good in my opinion, but some people like it. So if you like Aegislash, you'll probably like Crustal. And then you also have the Mega EX and Mega EX with Crustal. Like I don't know if that's awesome. Someone said it with. I think I saw someone say it could be good with Hydrapple EX, which is like kind of true, but Hydrapple EX is okay. Here it is. That's also like really hard to set up and requires like so much energy. And you can play in different ways. I've seen some different decks. Overall, it's like a cool Pokemon. It can be kind of box styley, kind of like the Armrouge stuff, except just moving it to the bench. I don't think either of these are going to be significant in the metagame. Crustle can be played with like lots of different things, like within walls. Of different kinds. But again, I think it's outclassed by Mimikyu, and it's not super impressive. It's arguably outclassed by the Sylveon as well, which is pretty similar. Actually, no, it probably is outclassed by Sylveon. Crustle can be hit by the Mew EX, which is like not awesome, though again, Mimikyu will still be in the Mimikyu and Mew actually rotate at the same time. But the card's okay. I mean, it's not insane, but it's all right, and that's true for both of them. Definitely not super impressive. I kind of wanted to talk about more decks that weren't trainers Pokemon, like Arboliva EX I wanted to talk about, but it's not really played very much. And so I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to cover it. And then yeah, this is the only one we're talking about, and it's not very good, which is kind of unfortunate. But I did mention it, and it's okay. It's not like terrible. When we have the Cynthia's deck, this one's maybe the most interesting. You have Cynthia's Rosary to boost your damage by 30, and then you have Cynthia's three Cynthia's Spiritomb in this list to like do damage based on damage on your bench. Cynthia's Pokemon, and Cynthia's Garchomp EX does 100 for 1 fighting, you draw till you have 6, or 260 for 2 fighting. You discard the energy from it. It also has free retreat, and it is weak to grass, which I guess is not ideal, but whatever. Then you have the Cynthia's Gabite searching for Cynthia's Pokemon and putting them into your hand, which is nice for setup. It's not truly broken, but it's pretty good. And then you again are boosting the damage using Cynthia's Roserade. You can be taking one shots here, and then you have Cynthia's Power Weight to get 40 or sorry 70 extra HP, which is like a lot of extra HP. And there's no downside there. It's a really strong tool, as with pretty much every trainer and set of trainers Pokemon. They have really strong support, but then the Pokemon are a little bit weaker. But these Pokemon are pretty solid. I think Cynthia's Garchomp. This has also been played, I think, with Frostlass some. Oh, it's been played in some different ways. But yeah, Frostlass is a legit way to play it as well. Not covering that today. I guess I will. I'll mention it. It's like fine. Honestly, not too sure about that one, but it's probably pretty good. Probably comparable to the Marnes Frostlass deck, honestly. It's a little bit different, not as self-sufficient, and yes, it's a little bit different. It kind of wants more support, so it's not quite the perfect synergy, but also doesn't get damaged. It's going to be like super tanky, so I'm leaning more into that aspect. But anyways, you have that going on, and then you also have, again, bursting on the or not necessarily bursting, but flooding your board with Cynthia's Pokemon through the use of Cynthia's Gabite, and using Cynthia's Rosary to be really strong. And also, you have, I will mention this card. This might be kind of cheating, mention this card, but there's, I think it's Premium Power Pro or something. That like name sounds wrong because like what does that even mean? That might be wrong, but anyways, there's a tool or sorry an item that increases your fighting Pokemon's damage by 30. I think this might be the best use of it. I'm not really sure. I haven't looked too hard. Probably good with Corsomas and Urupon EX as well. It's coming in the Mega era, presumably the first set of the Mega era. If not, I mean, it's definitely coming within Cynthia's Garchomp EX's lifetime, presumably like in the same block and having a really large amount of overlap. So I think this is legitimately going to be good, and partially because of that and because of like the different support. I think this could be a top 10 deck and could be the best deck from the set. I think it's either going to be that or the Marnie's Frostlass deck, maybe. I mean, none of the decks are truly insane. I don't think we have a clear deck that's definitely going to be a top 10 deck. Um, And I think a lot of them will kind of float around outside that range, like we have in Standard now with the new trainers Pokemon, where you have the Hop Stack, which is fringe top 10. It's certainly been, again, new cards get played more, so it's been played a decent amount. So it's like, again, probably fringe top 10. The End Stack, I think, is bad. Enzor EX is okay as a draw engine. It's legitimately, it's like solid. We got pretty weak draw engine, so it can like stay up there with a lot of the other ones, but it's not insane. But ignoring that aspect, because that's not the ends deck, it's like not really. It's like maybe like deck 15 through 20 range, somewhere around there. And then I think we'll see a lot of decks in like that Hop Zacian Hop and Zorik range. They're better generally than the Ianos deck. There are some other bad trainers that we're not talking about. I think Arvins and Misties that might be those. And then Cynthias is I think the best of them and could be legitimately like really good. I don't think it'll be insane immediately. It might though. I'm not entirely sure. I think it's going to be pretty good. And then the last deck we have is the Steven stack. This one I really like with the tankiness. It kind of you want to just wall using your stadium, which isn't always played. I like it most as a walling deck with the Stevens Carabank EX and the Granite Cave Stadium. Then you just have your Stevens Meteor CX, which is mostly self-sufficient. You do kind of want a Monkey Dory to heal off, which is nice, but then the energy gets pretty clunky there. I've been playing this deck some. I haven't been playing like it. I've been playing a decent amount, and it's definitely a little clunky. A lot of these are a little clunky and setup heavy, but again, when it's set up, it's pretty strong. It's not insane damage, and some of the like Monkey Dory stuff can get kind of weird with Monkey Dory being actually really prevalent right now, specifically with the Marnes deck being again like really really popular because it's like the better of the new decks. I think Stevens is actually like pretty similar power level to the Marnes deck. I think Marnes Grimmstone EX is um, a little bit stronger because it's more self-sufficient and again does have some better synergies type-wise. Steven Spinaghost EX is Psychic and Metal. Psychic and Metal are certainly not bad types. They're actually arguably two of the best types in the game, but in terms of the synergies, they're not actually like really there. The card's actually, I think actually it's very good in live right now as well because it's bugged, but we're not counting that. Overall, I think it's solid. It can get it plays slower and you don't have as much control over the game because of that, because you're not applying as much pressure. But overall, I think it is pretty good. People need to mess around with it a little to figure out how it can be good. But I do believe this deck is still very solid. Very solid as in like range top 10, like deck 15 as well. Probably like yeah, probably like deck 15 range, somewhere around there. I've said a lot of decks in that range. I think, yeah, there are going to be a lot of decks like that from this set, unfortunately. It's not that bad of a thing, but probably rather than be a little bit better. But overall, the deck's okay. It can be really tanky. I think it is. I mean, it's probably the tankiest Pokemon ever. It's the same HP equivalent as Cynthia's Garchomp EX when getting one shot, but if you're not getting one shot, you equivalently have more HP. So, yeah, it's Frostlass, though. It's less, but regardless. It's super tanky. I think it's really good. Actually, random thing that's a little unrelated. I think it's really good and expanded, so I'm probably going to do that. But as a Pokemon, I think it has a lot of potential. I don't think it's quite in the right spot in the game right now. I'm not exactly sure what it needs either because weaker Pokemon are often accompanied by spread, and spread isn't super awesome because that's kind of going through this. But overall, I think the deck is definitely all right. But overall, most of them are kind of mediocre, but do have a lot of legit potential as well. But tell me down below how you'd rank these decks and which you're most excited for to play with Destined Rivals. But I hope you enjoy. Consider liking, subscribing, hitting the bell. That really helps out the channel and helps me out a lot. But I hope you enjoyed. And as always, I'm excited to see you in the next video.